Hello techies, welcome to IT Tech Solution. Today in this video we will see how we can set up GitHub into VS Code and use VS Code directly to issue the Git commands. So that integration we will see how we can do, how we can set up the configuration, and then how we'll try one sample code to push and see how it goes to the remote repository. So this is my basic project structure if you can see my screen here. So I have a pretty simple structure and we will follow some steps here. So first thing is we can install the git. First is we'll have to install the git client itself. If you see in my system right now, I don't have a git installed, right? So it gives me error that it is not found. So the first thing is to connect to our remote repository, we need a git client to be installed on our local system. So here are the few options in VS Code. Among them, if you go to the third option which says source control, right, this is the tab which is responsible for all your git activities. So if we change any things, we can track it here, we can stage a code, we can push the code, we can sync the branch, we can create a new branch. So all stuffs, everything that git needs will be present in this. So this is very important tab for us. So here you can see now, since there is no repository, nothing is installed, right? It says initialize a repository. But before initializing a repository, we will have to download the Git repository and the Git client and install it. So if we go to the official website of GitHub, here you will find in the downloads. I can provide these details also in the link in the description. You can just check that once. So 64-bit is the one that we would be downloading and we'll have to install. So I have already downloaded and it's present in my downloads folder. I'll just click on this and we'll go through the steps to install it. Okay, so here you can see the installer has started. We'll keep almost all the options as default. We are not going to experiment on those things. It's pretty much default settings that we will be requiring. So I'll not change any path. All these options I'll keep it the default one. Okay, use bundled open SSH. We are good with that. Choosing HTTPS is fine for me. Checkout Windows style is okay. Use min TTY, that is also fine. This is default is fine. Git credentials manager is fine. And then enable file system caching. Yeah, these all are fine. I'll just install it. So it will install pretty quickly. It won't take much time. Once this is installed, I will just have to restart my VS Code so that it identifies the Git and we will be then good to go. So we'll just wait for a while to get it installed. So once that is installed, we will go to the next step, which is we'll check or create a remote repository. We will see like how we can create a remote repository, and using that remote repository how then we can clone it. So all those things we will see once as soon as this is installed. All right, so Git is installed now. I'll just finish this one up, and then I will restart my VS Code. Let's just restart it so that it doesn't give any issues or any errors. Safer side, we'll just restart it. So once we have restarted our VS Code, we'll again go back to the source control tab. Now here you will see soon there will be a button coming up where it will ask us to initialize the repository. Now what we have to do is we have to create a remote repository. Once that is created, we will have to initialize our local repository and then link those things together. So we'll see one by one how we can do. First, let's go to the remote repository. So I have already created a dummy repository here. This is my remote repository. So you can just, if you don't have an account, just create a account in GitHub and then create your empty repository. Once the repository is created, you will see that it will pop you up with a link. So this is the link which identifies my remote repository. So we will have to link the remote repository using this to our local repository. So this is important. So just we'll copy this. We will have to use this one. So what we can do now is we can follow the next step. So next step is create a remote repository. I have already created it. Link I have copied. I know the link where it is. Now copy the URL, that is the third step, and create a personal token is the fourth thing. Now I'll come to this why we need to create a personal token. First, let us do a init to our repository. Okay, so if I just go back to my VS Code terminal, and then I'll just copy git init from here. I'll just come here to my project directory. Remember to come back to your repository. I'll just copy this path and I'll cd into that. I am into my local repository, or I can say the local directory, right? Here I just have to do a git init first. Okay, so I'll just do one command, the first one, git init. Okay, now initialized my repository, right? It is empty right now. What happens at the back end is, if I just show you the back end, what happens is it creates a git folder. You can see in my lambda dot underscore docker folder, that is my root folder of my project. There is, I can see a dot git here. Now that dot git contains some of the references with which it is able to track the changes in our project directory. It has some reference folders and other things. In that we have one config file also. So if I just now open this one, it will have only the default values in it right now. But once we set up the other things, we will see like how these values changes. So using this, is able to track everything. Now the next step that we have to do, initialization we have done, right? Now the next thing is we need to link our remote repository with the local repository, so that whenever we push any changes from our VS Code, it will be able to identify where it has to push. So we need to provide that link, and this command itself will be doing it. So it will be doing this setup. So this command says git remote add origin. So I'm adding a remote git repository, and that I'm saying that that will be my origin. So whenever I do any push or any pull, you just go to this link and then pull the code from there. So the code also, the link is also provided, that is why it is provided here. So this will establish that that connection to my local repository to the remote repository. Now I'll just hit enter. So this step is also done. Okay, now the next step is GitHub. It says whenever if we try to push any code, right, it will say that you need to configure your username and email ID just for trackability. I think they ask this, so better we will do it now. Otherwise, later on it gives error that these things are not configured. So let's just configure both these things. I'm giving just a dummy values here. You can give the actual values here. Now this setup is also done. We will just now go to the next step. So our next step is to now do some changes, or to push it. So now as soon as we link our repository, you see that these things are now turned to green color, and it says untracked. U means it is untracked. Okay, these files are not yet tracked. That means it is not yet being tracked right now. Okay, so but yeah, the repository is local repository is now configured. So we'll go to the next step. So the next step would be to create a token. So the way it works is, once we do any push or any changes to our remote repository, it will try to authenticate. So first time whenever we are pushing any code or doing any code changes and then pushing it to sync with the remote repository, it needs to authenticate it. So for first time, it will ask for a user ID password, or for me, like preferred way would be to create a personal token and use that token to authenticate it. So this is done only for the first time. From the next time we don't have to do it, because what happens is the Windows credential manager, it will save those passwords. Right now if you see here, we don't have any password saved for GitHub, right? There is nothing GitHub right now. So we need to authenticate it first. For that, we need to create a personal token. So how we will have to create is, we'll go to the settings of my profile. Here in settings, come all the way down to developer settings. Here in the developer settings, you will see personal access tokens, and in that this tab as token. Now you need to generate a new token and just give the details like what is the token name, and you can keep other things as default, and you can just create a token. Once you create, it will be saved here like this. So I have just created one token. You need to give the expiring date as well. When do you want that token to be expired? We can give like range of months or year or something. Okay, so once that is created, you just need to copy that token. So I already have created this token. I'll be using my personal token to authenticate it. So just keep it handy with you, keep it saved somewhere. So once we push the changes, it will ask us to authenticate. You can authenticate with user ID password as well, and with the token as well. Token is in a way for I would suggest it is a more secure way because those things are encrypted, so it will be like more secure than your user ID and password. So now again we'll go back to the source control. Here you will see that these untracked files are present, and it will say that we need to publish this, right? So what I can do is I can just stage them first. So first step is we need to stage them. Now these are present in my stage. Now once it is present in my stage, what all I have to do is I have to do a commit. So I'll just say like first commit, okay, and then I'll commit it. So it is now committed to my master branch, but this master branch is my local branch right now. I haven't pushed this change to my remote branch. So we will have to publish this. So first time when we do push, it will say a publish branch because this branch is not yet available in my repository. If I just go back to my repository, you will see it is empty and there are no branches in it right now. So that is why first time any branch when we push, it will say publish it. From the next time we need to sync it. So yes, I'll just publish it. As soon as I hit publish, it will ask me to authenticate. So either we can authenticate using our user ID password, or in my case I'll use my token. So I'll just go to my tokens option, and from there I'll copy my secret token, and then I'll use this to authenticate it. So I'll sign in. As soon as I sign in, it will start trying to push the code to the remote repository. As well as if you notice, it will be saved in my Windows credential manager. Okay, if I just go back and come back here, okay, credential manager, manage Windows credentials, and here now you can see github.com. It has saved my token or my authentication. So from next time I won't need to give that token or that password again and again. Now this entire link and everything has been set up. Now if you remember, we just pushed the code to remote, right? Let's go and check the remote. I'll just refresh my remote repository, and yes, you can see all my code is now pushed with my commit description as first commit. So the exact code which I was having in my VS Code, I was able to push it to my remote. Now let's do one thing. We'll just do a small change here and again push it and try to track it. I'll just change the version. I say this is lambda 1, save it, and maybe second lambda also I can say that this is version 3 and save it. Once these are saved, immediately you will see in your source control it will identify those changes and say yes, these are ready to be now again pushed or to be staged. And if you just click on these, you will see what were the changes. This was the original code, and I have changed it to this one. And what is the changes? I removed this 2. Similarly, you can verify all of your changes. Once you are satisfied that all changes looks good, we again have to stage it. So using this plus sign all at once. So there are multiple files, one by one also we can stage, or we can stage all in one go. So I'll just stage it. Now these are present in my stage. Now I'll be able to push it. So I will just say second commit. Fine. Now with the second commit, I will now, if you see, I commit it. Now this is committed to my local repository. To be able to reflect it to remote repository, I need to publish it. Now this time, if you see, it is not saying publish it. Rather, it is saying sync changes because that master branch is already present here, right? So that master is already there. Now we just need to sync it. Now, once we sync it, it won't try to authenticate. It won't ask me again to put my user ID or password because it is already saved here in my Windows credentials. It will fetch from here. So you can see that blue bar is moving. Once that is done, we will be able to see it. Now this is done, right? So we'll go and check here. I'll just refresh it. So I'll be able to see these two. You can see these two codes. It is now second commit just now. So this way I can keep on modifying my code. I can keep on working on my project and keep on pushing my latest code here. And various other options you can check from here. That is like other area which I would not be covering right now. You can explore on these things, but yeah, this is the pretty basic thing that we do day to day in our job when we do these code changes and push it. Another thing, let's just see the backend config file once that I showed you, right? So this is the .git file. How it tracks is now there are some more you can see some more files got added here. Description is there, index is there, head is there, all those things are there. And how this config will be looking now, if you just check it, you will see that my other configurations are now present here, like name is what is the name, branch, the current branch, what is the remote is origin, and all the reference heads and other things is coming here. My what is my URL of my repository which I have linked is present here. So all these details got updated here. So this is the config file of this Git. And I would also like to share one tip or my recommendation. You just go to your extensions and just install an extension from here. One is Git Lens, another is Git Graph. These two are very handy if you want to track anything like what all commits you have done, what all changes you have done. Sometimes we get lost, right? Like what was the change that I committed. So you can use this. So just install it from your plugin extensions. Once it is installed, we will see additional tab here, that is the commits. Initially you won't find it here, but once you install this plugin, right, you will see. Now here in commits, we can check what all commits I have done. Just now if you see, I did a first commit 6 minutes ago and the second commit just 3 minutes ago, and in each of them what was the change, you can track it, like what I change I did in this. You can just highlight it and see what were the changes in these two files. So this way it is very handy, it's easy. VS Code is pretty much advanced these days, so all these details we can get it from here. Another one I told you is about Git Lens, right? So those two plugins, I'll again show that to you. That is Git Graph, one is, and another one is Git Lens. So these two just install. So Git Lens, if you install, you will see these commits and other things. And Git Lens will tell us the entire structure of the branch and other things. Like this is like only two commits, right? Otherwise, you will see a long branch here. If we create any branches out of it, how it is getting branching and how it is getting merged. So all those things pictorially we can see, and we can see like how the project has been evolving. So these two are useful. Um, which will help us to understand how our project is growing. So these are the things. Let me just check if we covered everything. I'll put all these details in the description. You can just find all those things in the description and try it out. So yeah, this is pretty much. I hope it was helpful to you and you liked this video. If you like this, please subscribe to my channel. I'll try to give bring up more useful videos like these, so that it will be really useful for all of you. So I think that's it for now. Bye bye until then.